Hey, you guys, welcome back to Listen Bitch Presents Tell Me Why You're Special. This is the arena where we don't hide the things that we're insecure about. We face them and decide that they don't get to define us. Because the truth is, a lot of people are staying quiet in their lives. And it's not because they don't have something to say, but because they don't believe that they are allowed to be heard. And God did not give you a voice to keep it hidden. He gave it to you to use, to speak, to make an impact. So if you've ever held yourself back because of how you thought people would see you, this conversation is going to be speaking right to you. Today's guest is Marc Schmidt, a man who refused to let his story silence him and chose to use his voice anyway. Marc, thank you for coming into the hot seat. He did just tell me he's heard the show before, so he knows he's getting launched right into this elevator pitch. Tell us, Marc, who are you? What do you do? And what makes you special, darling?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this awesome show.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, and I'm really jazzed to be here, honored to be here. And so I'm Marc Schmidt. I have a podcast called Marc My Words.
Mhm.
I've been doing it for 6 years, and it's basically me talking to entrepreneurs who are either doing a career transition or maybe they're somebody who's from Generation Z and have never had a career and their business is their career. And I've been doing it since 2020, and it wasn't because of the pandemic. I can get into the story, I guess, when it's more appropriate.
Yeah.
But I've been doing that for 6 years. I'm closing in on 200 episodes. It's been an amazing ride. I've gotten to meet some amazing people. And I also am one of the lucky people who have a full time day job. I work in the TV broadcasting industry. I've been doing that for, oh my gosh, 21 years now. Wow. So I've had some really amazing experiences with that. And I think I answered everything. Did I miss
Yeah.
anything?
No, you painted us an amazing picture. Um First of all, I just want to say like that's cool you work in TV stuff. Like that's cool, but really 6 years podcasting, that's badass because I know what it's like here and it's not always a great time. It gets kind of lonely sometimes and like people just don't understand. So, I mean that's incredible. Like I think that's amazing. And Mark My Words, that sounds like an incredible title. So you guys, that is going to be in the show notes. So make sure you check out his show, please. But yeah, let's get into your story because I read your bio before. I usually scan your bio before we get started, so I'm not completely blind. You grew up with a cleft lip and palate. What First of all, I mean, you're here. That's amazing. You're in this space to be seen. And in a society that has just overrun people with this perfection idea of what people should look like and what people should be, I think this is incredible what you're doing. But what is that like as a kid?
It was interesting for sure. How can I? That's a good question. It was very lonely at times, and
Yeah.
I mean, so I was born with a cleft lip and palate, but it was like a package deal. So I was born with a very rare syndrome called Opitz GBBB syndrome. It's like very rare. I don't know what the stats are on how many
Yeah.
people get it, but it's a package deal. There's a couple things that go along with it. Some could be TMI, so I'll just leave the TMI out. But
What? We're here for the
um,
tea, Mark. We're here for the
yeah,
tea.
I
No.
know. Hey, I listen to this show, so I know you're all about it. But I will just go. I'll go with my gut on that
I
one.
gotcha.
But yeah, just as a kid, it's like that you're a little bit different,
Yeah.
and then you have kids and even like parents who will treat you differently. I always tell the story. I went to a private Catholic school from kindergarten to fifth grade, and I'll try to make it short, but every week a different class got to like run the mass, quote
Yeah.
unquote. If this is like first grade, how much were we running it?
Right.
But somehow, and I'm getting older, so I can't remember how I got mixed into getting a few lines during the mass, but I did.
Yeah.
And there was like one nun in particular that was like, "Whoa, we don't want him doing that because, we can't understand him or he can't do it." And my mom actually went to bat for me. My mom was always like really great when I was real little, going to bat for me. And I wound up doing it. And then I guess I did it well. And I got all kinds of praise for it. But those moments were few and far between. And it was very lonely and it could be very challenging, kind of like
Yeah.
it is today.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I feel like it's almost even worse just with social media and this perfection culture with like filters, and everybody's trying to make their face better, and everybody's trying, like, everyone just cares about this physical stuff. And I think the beauty of humans is that your soul outshines any of that. And I think, you know, I can't imagine. I know this was incredibly, it's hard to grow up different, you know. I never fit in, and not from the same, definitely not the same experience, but I never realized, like, me not fitting in, that was God's plan all along. He never wanted me to fit in. He didn't want me boxed in. He didn't want me labeled. He made it very clear since I was little. And I feel like, how did this work on your confidence? Because obviously, I'm going to tell you guys, it takes balls to have a podcast. Okay? It's a level of vulnerability that I can't really talk about. So I know you've got mad confidence, but going through this experience of like people looking at you different, how does this shape your confidence?
Interesting story, and I appreciate the ego stroke on mad confidence
Right.
because where I'm at today, it took a lot of work. I've come a
Yeah.
long way. So the reason that the mention of working in broadcasting kind of actually fits in well with this conversation is from the time I can remember, I was obsessed with like television.
Yeah.
Growing up in the 80s, I was like weird kid obsessed with like the
Yeah.
TV guide and how they schedule stuff.
We got
And
five channels, right? Like we
yeah,
didn't have this whole
yeah,
pick of the litter.
UHF,
Yeah.
VHF, and I would, so I had black and white TV. I would
Yep.
like take it apart and look inside. Like I was all about it. I think I knew I wanted to do that from a pretty young age. And I think there was a part of me that wanted more than to just work behind the scenes because I've worked like mega behind the scenes. I've done the type of work that I didn't even know existed until I got into the field, like
That's
doing
amazing.
quality control on shows and
Yeah.
commercials, and that's just been my career. But I think there was always a part of me that wanted to put themselves out there more, but in my mind it was like, who's gonna want to listen to me talk? Who's gonna want to
Yeah.
like watch me? Like who's gonna, I don't look like XYZ
Yep.
person or sound like, who you can name drop whoever.
Yep.
And it took until I was given like a buyout package for like my first major full-time job. They were like reorganizing, and that company is still reorganizing, to be honest. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was like years ago. But I didn't really know what to do, but I had gotten promoted into management. So in my mind, especially growing up in the era that I think we grew up in,
Yeah.
you go to college, you get a job, you climb the corporate ladder,
Yep.
and that was like my mindset. But I found because my field is just so competitive and it's just getting more streamlined, less jobs, less opportunity to
Yeah.
climb that ladder. I found between the end of that job and to the job, like, got a really awesome opportunity down here in Florida and really great full-time job. And I spent years just freelancing, and I stopped feeling like that fulfillment that I
Yeah.
used to feel. So, like, working in management and having the opportunity to impact like staff and stuff was just an amazing opportunity, and having that taken away and not being able to do that anymore was kind of difficult. So
Yeah.
one thing led to another. I started blogging, I started going to networking events, and I started meeting people who said, "Hey, have you tried like creating content? Have you tried doing a podcast?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"No, I have never thought about doing any of that." But that voice inside of me that was like, "You want to put yourself out there,"
Yeah.
and it was like, this might be your opportunity. It might be the universe telling you something. So
Yeah.
I did that, loved the response I got from people, and just decided to go for it. Somebody gave me the idea for the name of this podcast, and it just kind of, fell right into place. My wife was cool enough to get me a mic and a ring light, and
Nice.
kind of like was supportive about the idea. I got a few people that I knew who were entrepreneurs to
Mhm.
be on the show. And when I first started, I didn't realize that I wasn't like very confident with speaking and presenting, but I can hear it now when I go back. And I definitely hear the growth and how much better I present myself, just with speaking and presenting and interacting. And I think it was just the support and encouragement and the practice of doing the show, to make a long story short.
Yeah. No, I think that's incredible. And I mean, you at one point believed that speaking on camera wasn't even going to be possible. Is this just because of what you feel is that visible difference? And I feel like you are who you are. You've always been who you are. You've always looked how you've looked. It's how other people make us feel, you know? So is that what kind of had you hesitating for being on camera?
I think it was like imposter syndrome. It was
Yeah.
like a limiting belief where I just limited myself. I made myself feel like this is how people see me, because I got so used to being kind of like a one man band. I mean,
Yeah.
through, I don't want to make it sound like I never had friends or never connected. I mean, I've met great people
Yeah.
all along the way and have connected, but it's been difficult to just kind of like maintain like real long term friendships and stuff like that. And the ones that I have held on to have been just, I guess they're there for a reason and
Yep.
they've been amazing. But I just I don't know, because I think about the idea that sometimes I feel like life is just life and you go through the journey you go through
Yeah.
because that's what it is. Because I don't really know exactly, especially at this point in my life, how much people see or hear that I'm different. Like, I've definitely have had experiences as an adult that
Yeah.
definitely makes me feel like that is happening, but
Yeah.
it's very tricky in that way. So I know my attitude has always been just live your life like,
Yeah.
like you're on the same wavelength as everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think with that being said, there's also something in my head that's like, you have to like compensate for anything that people might see or hear by
Yeah.
working extra hard or having a strong vocabulary
Yeah.
or just whatever.
Yeah. No, I totally see that, and it's crazy how many people can listen to this and relate to just what we think of other people seeing us, because we all, like, what you experience is really no different from any conversation I have with anyone. We can all find something to pick apart and think that that's how people are going to see us. And what I really want people to understand on the show is like, um at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how rough your start is. Like, we both are, we have episodes we're probably super embarrassed about. Okay, episode 1, not my shining moment. I'm not the same person, right? But I leave it out there so people can see the growth. And just that insecurity of being vulnerable, because we're going to imagine people seeing the worst of us anyway, but the right people are going to see who you are outside of everything else. They're going to hear your message. They're going to, feel your energy of like, wow, I can really learn from this guy. And at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. And that's what I want my audience to understand, because there's people listening right now, Mark, that are like, I can't do this. Nobody wants to hear anything I have to say. I'm not going to ever be worth sitting in front of a camera. My story is definitely not special. All their insecurities, right? I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not well spoken enough. All of these things. And they're sitting on their story. And you were like, no, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving forward because what else would you be doing? Just letting your purpose
Well,
rot away, you know?
yeah, well, I think some of the thing that really motivates me to do what I do, and I remember sitting in study hall in high school, or in one of those many moments sitting by myself, and I would envision making some kind of impact with my story. And when I meet people, whether I'm on TikTok or
Yeah.
just on social media, or I guess they're the same thing, but
Yeah.
but just in my travels, when I come across somebody who says, "Oh, I could never have a podcast, or I could never show myself, like I could never go live on TikTok or
Yeah.
whatever," I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like hello, I'm here, like I have
Yeah.
all these reasons," and I say it more and more on my show. I have every reason to not be doing
Yep.
any of this. I could point out a bunch of reasons to just go move my cursor and press the leave button here right
Yeah.
now and destroy this episode from happening
Yep.
because of just everything that I have, like the obstacles that I have. But I feel like it's important for people like me, and I know not everybody who has obstacles, especially the ones like mine, are gonna want or feel compelled to put themselves out there. But there's just something about what's in my heart and
Yeah.
gut that just makes me want to do it and put myself out there. And I just feel like it's important to show people that they can do whatever they want to do in life,
Yeah.
and they don't, like, they have more to offer and more tools at their disposal than they realize.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point, right? You're doing this with extra obstacles. It's already hard to do. It's already not, easy, but also not doing this, I think there's a price. There's a price for not stepping into your potential. There's a price for not becoming, I feel like, who God created us to be. And right now, you have just set this blazing trail of what's possible for people that really do have obstacles. You're like, hey, like, what's your excuse? There is none. And that's what I want to wipe from people's brains right now. Your excuse, your insecurities, like, that's vain selfishness, to be honest. And every time, Mark is willing to get up here, press record, press play, press send, press post, all of this. Like, he's just raising the ceiling for you. And all of us are. And you guys are thinking like, I feel it. I feel the insecurity. There's always an excuse. And I think it's get over yourself. Get over yourself. Like there's incredible people making incredible, impacts here. And someone Mark is never going to reach the person that you're meant to reach. Right? You're listening to this. I promise you there's people that him and I will never reach that really need you to be able to start stepping into your potential.
Totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I know for me, it always makes me feel really great when somebody I talk to
Yeah.
who is downing themselves when they do hit the live button or they do decide to take steps. It doesn't have to be a podcast. It can be basket weaving. It can be
Yeah.
passive income. It can be, you know, whatever, working in the acid mines. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a little extreme, but I mean, it's, I don't know. I know what I've been through and the obstacles I've gone through, just everything that I've kind of like struggled with.
Yeah.
And I just not only want to share that story, but I also want people to tune in to my podcast or any other appearance that I might make and just think about it, just think twice about
Yeah.
what they're doing. And I know, so entrepreneurs were the ones who kind of like encouraged me
Oh yeah.
to do the podcast. That's why I decided to make the theme that I made. And I actually have some ideas for doing more podcasting and talking about some of these topics, but they're the reason that I decided to really take the plunge. And I not only want to use my story, which I've been opening up more about, but I want to use their stories just to inspire people because I
Yeah.
spent years thinking about how I can fulfill myself more and was just overlooking the possibilities of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I just want to also just have somebody maybe have an aha moment and say, hey, maybe I can even start a business or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just, sure, I do it for selfish reasons too, but there's a lot of unselfish reasons for why I do what I do.
Yeah. No, I very much agree. I mean, we were talking before we hit record about how we just have met incredible people in this space. And, I don't think anyone we meet is an accident, but being inspired to just know that there are endless possibilities. Like we get to do whatever we want with this. This is our it's our life. We get to do whatever we want, whatever we feel like comes next. And, I think it's incredible how, you're saying it there's parts that aren't selfish. And I mean I agree with the selfish part. Like I started this because I wanted exposure, right? I'm like, I want to start the show so people know who the heck I am. This show has never once, like, this is not about me. And being able to meet people and highlight their story. And I feel like this, it's not me who is making the difference in a listener today. It's you. And the fact that I get to be here, that I can't even see the non-selfish version of that. Like, yay, we're still helping people, but selfishly I'm like, wow, I get to, everybody I meet I get to learn from. And it's incredible. Like every guest has expanded me. I think it's so amazing how the space of meeting people, um, how has that played a difference in how you see yourself now?
So every time I do an episode of my show, and especially when I do a guest appearance that's as wonderful as this one, when I leave or we end it, I have like a high
Yeah.
that is just kind of hard to explain. I don't really get that feeling from too many other things. And just having that conversation where we're just, you know, both ends of the conversation are feeling seen.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have spent a lot of my life feeling like I'm not feeling seen enough or not being heard enough. So I think when I have these amazing conversations with all these really smart people that I've met, I walk away just with this feeling of wow, I they answered my questions,
Yeah.
they made me feel seen and appreciated, they enjoyed the time, they enjoyed being on my show, and it's a really good feeling. And I think that's one of the big things that I get out of it. And it's just a bonus if
Yeah.
people come back and say, that was a great episode. I want to be the next guest on your show. And just the fact that after 6 years, that same
Yeah.
uh, process just keeps going and going and going. It's hard once you get to a point where I'm at. It's actually kind of hard to stop doing the show
Yeah.
because I know I've had my moments of just mentally getting burned out or whatever, where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this
Yeah.
anymore. But you remember all of those times that were so great, and you just remember your purpose, and
Yeah.
you keep on going, and experiences like this one certainly help with that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And thank you for that. That's
Yeah, of
incredible.
course.
This is something I stalled doing this show. I've had my own show for 3 or 4 years, like 560 episodes in. So not a newbie to it, but I really stalled doing a guest show because I didn't think I was good enough, right? I had imposter syndrome so bad. I'm like, there's no way I could be a good host, right? Um, so it still gets me, right? I've only had the show I think like 2 months or something. It's a baby. The show's a baby. um and so imposter syndrome is still it's very real in things that I'm moving in now. How do you deal with imposter syndrome now?
Oh my gosh. So one thing that I did was last year, we're both on Podmatch. I actually spoke at a podcasting made simple event about imposter syndrome as a guest
That's
on
amazing.
podcasts. And I don't know why I'm really shouting that out, but I guess it speaks to the fact that uh, imposter syndrome is something that really is important for me to talk about, especially like limiting beliefs, which really tie into that.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, I feel like I've come a pretty long way. So when I do new episodes and have new conversations, new guests, it it's not something that really impacts me too much as far as like I don't know I if I can do this. I feel like I've come an incredibly long way. I almost feel like at this point I've gotten so much support
Yeah.
and encouragement that I just feel like it's full steam ahead. Now, there could definitely be something that comes up that will affect it. And I know that since last year, there's like just been this trend of getting ghosted
uh
before recording an episode.
yeah.
And that can mess with you.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm rambling on because I'm trying to find something that you know, is current. And I know that that kind of stuff has caused me to take little breaks. And again, I think I just deal with all of that by just remembering my purpose and
Yeah.
why I'm doing it. And look, I've already gotten this far. I've gotten so many pats on the back from
Yeah.
like people who mean a lot to me about what I'm doing, and that helps. It means everything, and
Yeah.
just all of the little achievements and accomplishments with the show just really help me to keep it going.
To take that next step. I think that's incredible. We're coming up on our time here, Mark. So I guess my last question for you is if you can speak to that person that's listening right now who feels like they're not enough to be seen or heard, what's the one thing you would tell them right now?
Uh, Boy, that is a great question. I think what I would say to them would probably be similar to what I would say to like the younger version of myself. And it would just be, look, just keep believing in yourself, keep showing up for yourself, and try to enjoy the journey and just know that you're going to find your way and you're going to eventually find your people, your crowd who are going to see what you see in yourself. And, you know, it gets better. It definitely gets better as time goes on. And I think it's just to mainly keep believing because the only other reason that I can think of for why I'm here is that I was crazy enough to just keep believing in myself despite
Yeah.
all of the things that people might have said to me or about me or whatever it was. I just never stopped uh, placing my bets on myself.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. Mark, this is the part where I get to tell you what makes you special. Hope we have time for that because you're killing it here. You represented everything I want to say in the show. And it's not just because you found your voice, okay? It's that you chose to use it when it would have been easier not to. You took something that could have kept you hidden and turned it into something that helps other people feel seen. And I think that every step you take to steward your potential, like you're helping someone else get closer to the light. And that's all we're called here to do. That's how we make the world a better place. That's how we continue to grow um, in our own potential. And I think that's incredibly powerful. I think you're courageous. Ideally you're a badass. I mean, 6 years in podcasting. That's I'm I'm just gonna say it. But I think that's what makes you special. And to everyone listening, you guys don't have to keep shrinking yourself. God did not give you a voice just so you can sit around and question it. You're allowed to speak, to show up, to be heard, to be bold, to be honest. And please remember that your mess is your message. Even the insecurities, even the things that you think really disqualify you, even the parts that you're trying to hide, babe, that's where your power is. And if you've been feeling that pull to use your voice or to share your story or to say something that actually matters, okay, please don't wait until you feel confident. I created a podcast support group for you guys. It's free, okay? The Audacity Lab on Facebook. You can get, I don't gatekeep. I literally spill all the tea, okay? So if it's been on your heart to start using your voice, please come join me there. Please make sure that you find Mark My Words wherever you like to listen to podcasts. I do have his YouTube channel linked in the show notes. So please share the episode, okay, with someone maybe that hasn't been using their voice, that has let their insecurities be bigger than their purpose. Mark is the conversation for them, okay? So please share this because, again, people we don't, and we can't reach them without your help, okay? Don't be selfish. Just share the show. Leave a review. Stars are cute, but I love the comments, okay? And if you guys are ready for the hot seat, come tell me why you're special. Mark, you are incredible. Thank you so much for just being part of the gift I receive of getting to have this show. This is incredible. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me on your show. And I'm glad that you started doing interview episodes.
Yeah.
Don't stop because this was a really enjoyable conversation. You're you're phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.